Okay.
I forgot actually that you did sing because the last big show I saw you at was in by the CNE.
Queen Elizabeth?
Oh, yeah, Queen Elizabeth Theater.
You opened it with singing, actually,
Yes,
if I remember
it's
correctly.
funny because a lot of people obviously just think I'm a comedian and can he hold a note? And Anthony's always laughing at me because he's like, why don't they know you can sing?
Right,
you can sing.
Right.
It's not like it's bad. And, you know, the real reason is I've always admired like Jamie Foxx, who does it all. He sings, he performs, he plays. And I think those are one of the greats. And I think when you come out with a talent and then your audience sees another talent, they kind of go, whoa, when did he find time to do this? So I do that and put it as a part of my entertainment when I perform.
Are you going to continue to do that forever? Singing
Yeah,
and comedy?
I think it works. And, you know, I had aspirations of putting out like what they call a mixtape, you know what I mean? A couple combinations with me and some artists that are singing that you would never think, you know what I mean? I'd like to consider myself a second-tier singer, a first-tier comedian, and having that opportunity to do an album with people, add a little comedy in the snippets, and do an album that has me singing songs with some of my favorite artists would be wicked. Even a Canadian version, I think would, because I know everybody in the industry, I think I could put together a nice album that would have everybody on it. Maybe that's something I'll aspire to start working on.
I think you should. I'd really like to hear that.
It'd be cool.
Maybe have like Gilbert Gottfried doing backing vocals.
Yes.
Or other comedians singing with you.
Yes, other comedians. They would, and there's so many, like especially, and I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but this pandemic has allowed us to have a lot more closer relationships with our American counterparts as comedians. I've got to meet a lot of them, talk to a lot of them. It just made it a more level playing field. Right. Because everybody used to think, oh, I'm killing right now. And I'm going on tour and I'm shutting down all these clubs. So I don't have any time to take a call from a Canadian. Right. And now it's like, hey, what's up? Nothing, man. I ain't doing nothing, man. You want me to do a show?
I'll do 2 shows back to back.
Yeah, I'll do back to back. Y'all want me to do, man, I'll do that. I got time for that.
2 for 1?
Dude, you do have time for that because you are waiting on a $1,400 stimulus check. And you don't have a guy named Trudeau that's sending you $900 to $1,000 every 2 weeks, homies. That's why you have time for me.
I love it, man.
Have you talked to a lot of other because I know now other comedians in the U.S. are starting to go back and work. Have you talked to any of them going back? What is it like trying to go back in this environment? I know it's not everywhere, but I know Texas and some other places.
There's a lot of places Florida. That are opening back up in the United States to do comedy. A lot of my friends, some of them are Canadian, like Trix, he lives in Vegas now. My good friend Ron Jossel, he did a couple stints in Vegas, and he said, you know, the first 3 times both of them have said it, like they got on stage, it's working your rhythm back. It's like going to that heavyweight fight and getting your face knocked in because you haven't been working out and sparring. So it's been a change for them, and I think it'll be a change for us but I think the only difference is that they didn't do a lot of online comedy. They were like, we're straight stage comedians.
Can you do a lot of online now?
I am living on online comedy. It's come to a point now that I've adjusted. I'm really good at it now. Of course, when it started, everyone hated it. But it was the new normal. It was corporately paying our bills, so we had to find that time and effort to do it. And I think now I've never mastered it, but I'm quite one of the masters.
Well, what I was curious about with that is I listen to a lot of stand-up comedians talk in podcasts because I just find the job of a stand-up comedian in a way to be just above what other people do, because you just stand, especially in a world where we have iPhones. You just stand on a stage and you talk and you captivate for hours. Right. But I do remember having an issue when comedians, not an issue, but being like, when comedians would say, well, I played this theater and I played that theater. And I was like, played? You're not a musician. But then I started to understand that we're the instrument. They're playing people. And a big part of that is timing. And you tell a joke and you quickly assess, like, in a way that a regular person can't, who's laughing, who's not, which direction should I take it in, and you make split-second decisions on what to choose. How does that work online when there's as much as a 2-second delay, right? You're so used to telling the joke, and then you know how long it takes before the joke lands or doesn't land. What do you, because even when we sat down, before we set up the mics, you're like, I think there's a delay, and we had to bring it down, right? And that's just with your own voice. So how do you play people online differently.
Phenomenal
than in person.
question. Again, you took the punches in the face the first 3 times because I know my jokes and I know the laugh line that it gives me. I know when it's a tough crowd, it's going to be 2 seconds. When it's a good crowd, it's going to be like 5-6 seconds, which allows you a chance to get a drink and allows to do exactly what you said. Every comedian's mind is like it's like you're watching an iPad or you're watching Netflix and you're flipping through what to watch. That's what our brain is doing between jokes, going no, yes, that's kind of good, no, filter, transition, swing up, and hey, you know what I like? That's how it works for us. Rhythm. So when you say that rhythm and now you throw us on a screen where there is no laughter or they got a Zoom meeting that you're in and they've paused all the mics and you're waiting for those that are laughing. Then you got those 3 faces that are just looking like God said no one loves you anymore. And they're just like, I want everyone to know that God doesn't love me anymore. And you're looking at them going, that dude's not even going to smile. And it throws you off your timing. So the first 3 shows were horrendous. And then corporations didn't know what to do with their time. They're like, okay, we have a day meeting and you have an hour. And you're like, an hour? An hour online is 3 hours in real. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just like, what do I talk about? And by the end of it, like once I got the rhythm in, I knew what jokes were good. I knew when I could take a commercial break because I can add that in as a part of my comedy and just go, hey, you know what, guys? We're going to be right back after these messages. And they're like, what messages? And then I'd play a track in there that would have like a soundtrack of a commercial and I would do an infomercial commercial on, hi, are you suffering from sleepless nights, bloodshot eyes, Instagram thumb that keeps going and going? Are you going through WhatsApp looking for 2 blue check marks? So I memorized it all and they're all like, dude, he's going. Like he's going. And I'd be like, well, you need to try, you may be suffering from VF, virtual feelings. Virtual feelings affects every 1 in 10 people in this time of quarantine. Like I have it all memorized. If you feel you're suffering from it, contact your doctor or physician immediately.
But that's brilliant.
But it's the way I wrote it in to give myself a break.
Exactly.
Because technically speaking, it's a 3-minute bit.
Right.
But because I know it like Bible verses, I know it was a break for me. So I know that the audience is like going nuts because they're like, how did he pull this? And we now return to your regular scheduled program. And I'm like, can I get a drink of water? And that drink of water can be 20 seconds because they're still like, how did this guy do it? So it took a while for me to work out the pictures and pieces, but you're so right. You had to get your timing, it switches. So how do we switch back is why everybody who went back to the stage is having a little bit of trouble.
Are there things you're going to keep from the Zoom days on the stage now?
Most definitely, because they're wonderful callbacks, and now they become a piece of your set. Remember when we were growing up and we had those fun sticks, and you'd like lick it and dip it in for powder? That's going to be like, remember when we were in like COVID and we couldn't do a show? I had to do this bit. Like it's always going to be in your repertoire. And what's nice about that bit is it'll never end. There will always be an infomercial with new drugs that make you have to go through all the side effects. There will always be this. This has been going on since we were kids. So it is a bit that doesn't get stale.
Right.
Fun fact, then we move on. Did you know that only 2 countries in the world allow for pharmaceutical commercials? America and New Zealand.
Really?
Yep. We don't have them anywhere else in the world.
We have American
channels. Nope. Every other country's like, you can't advertise drugs. Are you crazy?
It sounds crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Well, that's a part of my set.
There you go.
Like, I'm going to take that information. Please make sure you
fact check it.
You know what?
I'll be like, I am from Sweden and we do drugs commercials all the time. I'm like, what?
You're false.
I'm just going to write that down and I'll fact check after
You
this is
better,
over.
man, because I don't need somebody to come up on me. And here's the commercials that I start in that 10 drugs.
It'll be one of those YouTube ones where you have it and then the person comes in and breaks it down why
I'll
you're
be
so
like,
wrong.
yo.
It was for sure true at some point. I haven't checked in a while. But I know
like, I
America still does
hate
it.
this studio, man. I would just go on the guy. I would be like, well, look at you, the only loser that walks around with your own commercial in your phone.
Well, I'll tell you guys what, the listeners, if that's not true, then I will pop in and say it wasn't true right now.
Yeah.
But if it was true, then I won't say anything.
There you go. So now you have to be at every show I do when I do
I
that
put a
bit.
marker down. We're good.
There we go.
You're
Good
placing
stuff.
bets, Ricky? True or not true?
What's
I
that?
think it's true.
You think it's true?
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I thought it was true too, but
You're questioning everything now?
It was true when I learned it, but I don't double check
fair
it.
enough. Things change.
That'll be
I
cool
can't
with
wait
me.
to find out.
I'll say it anyway. Everybody in the audience.
It won't be the
will think
first
it's
fact
true.
that I just made up and just ran with.
Oh, I have a bag of those.
So
86% of all
83,
facts are wrong.
He's so convincing with his delivery, though.
Yeah.
This is interesting. We got the comedy. We got the today's wizard. I don't know what to call you. But
Today's wizard.
just
Well,
dropping
he's got the
nuggets.
kazoo. He's got the kazoo thing. I am
What?
kazoo, or I am Oz.
The kazoo.
The vape you use.
Oh yeah,
Here's
it's
another.
actually just a kazoo that I pretend. To,
Yeah, this is
wow.
vape.
That's he
Every
vapes.
time I inhale, it goes. I'm gonna fact check right now. We're not.
No
gonna wait.
problem.
You guys keep talking. I'll
Yeah,
let you know.
give me what's up. What's next?
Do
No,
you write
sometimes-
sets?
Yeah, there you go.
Do I write sets?
Yeah, like because you're so naturally funny. Is it just give me a mic and let me be funny, or do you actually sit down and write bits?
All right. So we're gonna go back to the times when we were open.
Okay.
Comedians have a lot of joke sets.
Yeah.
Like I like to tend to be not like Jerry Seinfeld, who officially writes an hour every day,
Right.
regardless of whether he's performing an hour,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And when he writes for an hour, it's not that he has an hour of material, but he writes for an hour.
Right.
The average comedian that's touring, I would say, has to have a new hour set every year.
Yeah, it seems to be the standard.
So you write a new set every year and you run from that set. Some comedians, I'm not going to say are whack, but they just don't get out enough and they write one set for 5 years.
right.
I don't even understand how that can happen, that you're hearing a whole set for so many years.
Yeah. But that used to be the standard.
No,
back
that
in the
was
day.
the standard.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know what's funny? I'm going to tell you where I get critiqued like that. My shelf life for a lot of my jokes wasn't long because I was performing them in front of larger audiences that were then bigger than the average comedy club with 100 and 150 people.
Right.
Like, I never did a comedy club outside of Yuck Yucks' Nubian Night. I've never done like open mics.
Right,
So all of my comedy was being seen by a church of 400 people.
Right,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So when you told a joke to 400 people and they told everybody at their church, he's coming to my church, you're going to get a lot of the same things.
Right,
and then,
right.
for example, material that you do at church is only material that you could do at church.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that only goes so far. So
Right.
I'd get a lot of churches be like, are you going to do the thing? You're going to write something new? And I'm like, dude, there's so many jokes I can write about King Nebuchadnezzar and throwing 3 men into the fiery furnace. There's really one joke with that. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And so give me another Nebuchadnezzar joke. How about no? No. So it was harder to write for churches because my church hour is just my church hour. You know,
Right, right,
that
right,
one
yeah,
is
yeah.
going on forever.
Right.
Jerry's had the same hour for like 30 years.
Jerry Seinfeld,
Yeah.
but he has so much material.
That he doesn't use.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't
so
ha-
weird. Like he keeps talking about writing and writing and writing,
Right.
but he has the same hour.
Well, a lot of people do that. I find a lot of comedians,
Really?
like, I'm not going to say their names to put them on pause, but I've been on tour with some of them and they're like, I'm like, come out, let's go get some food. Nope, I'm writing. And then we go to the show together and I'm like, this is the same set
thing.
from like 10 years. But you got to remember as comedians, it's the only thing that we wish we could do that musicians can do. And I'm going to tell you what it is. The one thing that comedians wish they could do that musicians do is bang out their greatest hits.
This is going somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, when I said bang out, this guy's brain is something else. We need to have you psychiatrically assessed. But yeah, because you can't go and have the Police on tour and not hear one of those.
Yeah.
Roxanne.
Roxanne, true,
And
yeah,
Roxanne, he can't. No one wants to hear your new stuff. But
Right.
comedy is the absolute opposite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we wish we could just like kill you with the greatest hits.
Yeah.
And it always bothered me when a lot of people are like, hey, you did that joke last time. And I go, well, when you heard it the first time, how did that feel for you?
Right.
Because I'd like this next person to feel like how you felt.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And some writing is brilliance. There's some jokes that I believe I have that are just brilliant. And because of the shelf life, I have to put them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that's a
that
shame.
aspect kind of hurts. But hey, it is what it is with writing. But yes, as you said, I do write set lists for events. I'll write like 10 bits that I'll put in 10 bits from the chart of jokes that I have.
Okay.
And then I'll go on the show. And what I'll do after I perform is I'll come back and I'll be like, did I do 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10? But all of it, even though it's there on paper, your brain sees it, but when you're in the flow, you just kind of grab what you grab. And every comedian or every person's favorite comedian draws from situations that are right off the bat. Everyone wants to see a touch of freestyle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
so you got to have room for that in your act to be like, what is that? You know, and every comedian, every audience, I find, likes to hear a comedian kind of like assess themselves. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that happening. We do kind of fake it sometimes. Like it isn't happening. Like I've done jokes where I'm like, I know my callback is going to be me faking like I never thought it was there. It's the magic that happens in it. And you kind of let everybody go, wow. They're like, wow, how did he do that? But it's kind of
method.